Cheerio, and welcome back to another episode of Film Bouillabaisse, starring Alison Parker.
And Logan Albright. We're here doing a socially distanced...
This is 6 feet, we measured it.
bit here live in...
The camera subtracts 5.5 feet.
in Marietta, Georgia. And we're here to talk about our childhood favorite films. I was a child. I liked movies.
I was also a child once, believe it or not.
And did you like films too?
Yeah, I like films. I watched a lot of them.
The rundown of our top 6 favorite films. Number 1, my top pick, The Wizard of Oz.
Excellent pick.
I love Judy Garland. She is effervescent in this. She's only 16. It goes from black and white to glorious Technicolor. And I think there's just something timeless about this story.
I've watched The Wizard of Oz many times since I was a child, and it's always just as good as I remember it being. It never feels like it's aged a day. They've tried to remake it a couple times, and it just fails. It holds up. It's great. It's an amazing film.
Would you have stayed in Oz?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I would have gone to one of the parts of Oz from the book that they don't show you in the movie, like where the Winkies live or something.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. So
that's probably my top childhood favorite of all time, and partially because of Judy Garland. There's so much lore involving. Please cut that out. He's not gonna cut that out.
That's staying in.
Involving the production, and you can dive into that. There's a lot of information on Snopes. Some is true, some is not, but really just a classic MGM film.
It's got music in it too.
Lovely music.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought up a musical, because my top pick is also a musical.
What is it?
My favorite childhood movie is the original Mary Poppins, which I find has a bottomless well of endless wisdom the more you watch it. Everybody thinks it's about the children and the magical nanny. It's not about that. It's about a father learning how to be a better father to his kids. So it really ages well as you get older, because when you start out as a kid, you're like, oh, there's magic and there's fun and there's nannies and there's cartoons and there's songs. But as you get older, it really applies to you more as an older person trying to negotiate the world of business and the world of family and realizing how hard it is to juggle all those things. And I think that is what's great about it, because it keeps yielding new secrets as you get older.
Great.
What do you think?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. My next pick is also a musical. I think this is going to be a common theme for us.
Yeah.
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Not Charlie and the Chocolate Factory from 2005-ish, but the original Gene Wilder, spooky going through the tunnel, Technicolor. I'm going to say Technicolor every time I talk about a film.
Just make sure it wasn't in deluxe color, because that's different.
It is. Kodachrome, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know that this is a timeless story too, but based upon just excellent source material, based upon a book, and it's like, which kid are you?
Yeah, much of it holds up really well. I think the linchpin of the whole movie is how great Gene Wilder's performance is, because no one else could have done it better. Red Letter Media just did a long, in-depth review of this original movie, and they talked about all the little great bits and pieces of it that make it hold up and that have little things for adults to enjoy as well. But Gene Wilder holds the whole movie on his shoulders.
Absolutely.
He's unbelievable in it.
Yeah, and I think you relate a lot to some of the imagery. It's very evocative. It stays with you. Like, everybody remembers that the 4 grandparents all sleep in the same bed, and they remember Veruca Salt going down the chute, and they remember, of course, Violet turning violet.
Absolutely. Good. Well, my next pick it's also a musical. What do you know? Another musical. As you may know, Allison, I am a child of the 80s. The greatest decade ever.
We were born the same year.
We were born the same year, 1982. It is the greatest decade ever, and it's produced some of the greatest art ever. And a very typically 80s movie that I enjoyed a lot as a child is Labyrinth. Labyrinth is great. It's got Jim Henson. It's got David Bowie, your favorite.
My favorite musician of all time.
I was drawn to it because I like fantasy and fantastic things. It's got goblins in it. It's kind of spooky and scary. It's also got a lot of really creative visuals. It's got some good songs. It's not as timeless for sure. It definitely has an 80s feel to it.
Absolutely.
But I like that 80s feel, and so that's why I like Labyrinth. It was cool.
My last pick also has a musical flair to it. Auntie Mame, starring Rosalind Russell. Didn't catch that one coming, did you?
I actually have never heard of this movie, so go ahead.
You're gonna love it. Basically, the premise is a little boy has to go live with his aunt, and his aunt is a socialite.
Is she maimed?
No, it's M-A-M-E.
Oh, I misunderstood.
And it was remade into a musical just called Mame, M-A-M-E. You're right, that does sound like M-A-I-M. But Rosalind Russell is a socialite, and she has to kind of turn her life upside down to start caring for this boy, but she doesn't do it really well at first, but it is so fun. It's one of those things for all ages that you're going to get something different out of through every period of your life. And Rosalind Russell, I mean, she's at her peak, like right up there when she's in The Women or His Girl Friday, which another film
Friday.
I love,
Yeah, great
but
film.
I wasn't a child. I was more like a teenager when I liked that.
Yeah, that movie came out when you were a teenager.
So for you too. What's your last pick?
Well, in addition to being an 80s kid, I was a Disney kid because my dad worked for Disney for a number of years. So I became immersed in all the Disney films. And I think my favorite of all the Disney animated canon is the original Sleeping Beauty. There's something about it. The painted backgrounds are beautiful.
So beautiful.
The score is by Tchaikovsky, so it's really good music in it. The vocal performance of Maleficent is like the perfect evil villain. It's just wonderful. It always had a creepiness to it a dark side to it that I was always drawn to. And so I think Sleeping Beauty is the best of the original Disney animated canon. I really like it.
Okay,
How do you feel about it?
About Sleeping Beauty, it was one of my favorites too. I really love the fairy godmothers.
I like those little Pikmin guards. I used to have nightmares about them. They were terrifying.
Well, I think anything where there's a, what is it? Is it a curse?
Yes,
or is it
it's a curse.
prediction? That
It's
she's
also
gonna...
got the Grimm's fairy tale aspect to it, which I really like. Grimm's fairy tales are always rewarding.
Rewarding, to say the least.
Yes, and instructive to young children.
Great. Well, thank you for this impromptu video of our favorite childhood films. We just thought that I've thought about my childhood a little bit lately and what I liked back then, and these are films that all still resonate with me. Do they still all resonate with you?
Yeah, I think they do. And I would say if you're a child or you're thinking of becoming a child, you should watch all 6 of these films. I think you'll get a lot out of them.
I'm also a big fan of the children.
Yeah. Won't someone please think of the children? We did. That's why you come to us.
Thanks again for sticking with us. Keep it real. It's Alison Parker.
Logan Albright.
Here with another exciting
Sayonara.
episode of Filmboya Base. Thanks to Audrey Albright as our videographer today. Stay safe.